What if I told you that the absolute worst thing you can do for a growing, giant Great Pyrenees puppy is to just feed it a giant bowl of food?
It sounds so backwards.
Right? I mean, picture the scene here. You're standing in your kitchen, you're looking down at this pristine white fur ball. It's got these comically oversized paws, and honestly, at 3 months old, it's already bigger than most fully grown adult
Oh,
dogs.
yeah, they are massive right out of the gate.
Exactly. And it eats for a minute, pauses, tilts its massive head to listen to some, distant sound outside, and then just wanders right back to its kibble. To anyone else, it's just a hungry puppy. But to us, and for the purpose of our deep dive today, we're actually looking at something profoundly complex.
We really are.
Welcome to the deep dive. Today, we are unpacking the complete nutritional life cycle of the Great Pyrenees, taking you all the way from those oversized puppy paws straight through to their senior years.
And we've got some great sources to pull from today.
We do. We are drawing on expert veterinary insights, canine anatomy, and breed-specific behavioral notes to just completely dismantle how you probably think about feeding a giant dog.
Because what goes into that food bowl, it isn't just dinner. You really have to think of it as the quiet architecture behind everything in this dog's life.
The quiet architecture, I love that phrasing.
Yeah, because every single meal is actively dictating how those massive joints form, how the bone density develops, how the muscle layers on, and even the structural integrity of that famous weather-resistant coat.
So it's building blocks, essentially.
Exactly. When you pour kibble into a bowl, you are literally pouring the raw materials for a biological skyscraper.
And whether you have a Pyrenees snoring on your rug right now or you're just like insanely curious about giant breed biology in general, understanding this biological architecture really changes everything.
It absolutely changes how you look at what you're buying at the pet store.
Okay, let's unpack this, starting with the foundation, which is the puppy phase.
Yeah.
Because here's where I personally have a major disconnect.
The growth phase is tricky.
It is. People look at a Pyrenees puppy and know, logically, this animal is destined to weigh well over 100 pounds.
Right, the genetics are already locked in.
Right. So my instinct, and I think the instinct of most owners, honestly, is to feed it heavily. Like, if you underfeed a dog that is genetically programmed to be a giant, don't you risk stunting its ultimate growth?
See, that's the trap. It feels totally counterintuitive, but restricting calories during the puppy phase does not alter their genetic destiny at all.
Wait, really? It doesn't?
Not even a little bit. A Pyrenees will reach its genetically predetermined size regardless of how fast it gets there. The danger lies entirely in the speed of that growth.
Oh, okay, so it's a pacing issue.
Exactly. And to understand why, we really have to look at canine anatomy, specifically this process called endochondral ossification.
Endochondral ossification, got it.
Right, which is just the biological process where cartilage actually turns into bone.
So, wait, when they are puppies, their skeleton isn't actually solid bone yet?
Much of it isn't, no. Especially at the ends of their long bones, like the legs.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, these areas are called growth plates, and in puppies, they are made of this really soft, pliable, cartilaginous tissue.
Okay, so they're basically walking around on soft tissue.
Basically, yeah. And as the dog grows, this soft tissue slowly mineralizes and calcifies into hard bone. But in a giant breed like a Pyrenees, those growth plates stay open and soft for a very, very long time.
Like, how long are we talking?
Sometimes up to 18 or even 24 months.
2 years. That brings us right back to your skyscraper analogy earlier.
Yeah, it fits perfectly.
Because the genetics provide the blueprints for a 100-story building, right?
Yeah.
But the concrete being poured for the foundation, which is the calcifying bone, takes nearly 2 years to fully dry and cure.
That is exactly it. And if you overfeed that puppy, you are essentially moving all this heavy furniture and machinery onto a floor where the concrete is still wet.
Oh, that's a terrifying mental image.
It is. Because the soft cartilage of those growth plates literally gets crushed under the premature weight of rapid muscle and fat development.
Which I'm guessing leads to some pretty severe issues down the line.
Terrible issues. We're talking severe orthopedic diseases, angular limb deformities, and basically lifelong joint pain. What's fascinating here is that the goal of feeding a giant breed puppy was never to achieve size.
Because the size is guaranteed anyway.
Right. The goal is soundness. A dog that moves well and carries its own frame comfortably for life.
Soundness over size. I really like that. But what about owners who try to reinforce that wet concrete by adding supplements to the bowl?
Oh, the supplement trend.
Yeah, you see it all over the internet. People are adding bone broth, extra calcium powders, or, joint supplements to quote-unquote help the big dog grow strong bones.
Honestly, adding calcium to a large breed puppy diet without a specific veterinary prescription is one of the most dangerous things an owner can do.
Wait, really? But calcium builds bone. Why would giving a giant dog extra calcium be a bad thing?
Because a high-quality large breed puppy formula is already this highly calibrated chemical equation. The ratio of calcium to phosphorus is mathematically precise.
To make sure it calcifies slowly.
Yes, to ensure the bone calcifies at the perfect slow rate. So if you dump a scoop of extra calcium into the bowl, you just completely derail that ratio.
Oh, I see. It throws the whole math off.
Exactly. The dog's body absorbs the excess calcium, and that triggers premature and irregular calcification.
Yikes. So it hardens wrong.
Yeah, you end up with bones thickening unnaturally. It leads to conditions like osteochondritis dissecans, where pieces of cartilage actually just break off inside the joint.
That sounds horrific. So the message here is strictly controlled growth, strictly measured portions of large breed-specific food, and absolutely zero unprescribed supplements.
Zero. Just stick to the formula.
Good to know. And while we are talking about keeping this fragile giant healthy, we definitely need to cover the do not wait red flags.
Yes, this is crucial.
Because a puppy's system is just so delicate, if you see sudden food refusal, repeated vomiting or diarrhea, severe lethargy, or, any signs of abdominal pain, you do not take a wait-and-see approach.
Not with a giant breed puppy, no.
Right. That is an immediate vet visit. No questions asked.
Those early months are basically a tightrope walk. But if you navigate that slow, controlled growth successfully, those growth plates do finally close.
The concrete finally dries.
The skeleton hardens. The dog reaches adulthood. And then the challenge completely shifts from building the architecture to maintaining it.
See, maintenance sounds easy, but from the sources, it's actually incredibly stealthy.
It's very deceptive.
Because adult feeding is entirely about managing body condition. But the caloric baseline for an adult Pyrenees shifts based on age, whether they are spayed or neutered, and their lifestyle.
Lifestyle is really the primary variable here. I mean, a livestock guardian dog patrolling 50 acres in the snow has vastly different metabolic requirements than, say, a family companion sleeping on a sofa in the suburbs.
And here is where I see a massive trap for the suburban owner.
Oh, the activity level trap.
Yeah. You look at a Pyrenees in a house, and they are famously low energy, like they're calm, they sleep a lot, they just kind of observe.
They're watchers.
Right, so people assume that a dog that massive must be burning thousands of calories just to keep the lights on, so to speak.
Which makes sense logically, but biologically it's wrong.
Because a massive dog lying calmly by the back door is basically a large diesel truck sitting in idle.
That's a great way to put it. Let's look at the biology of that idling truck.
Let's do it.
The Great Pyrenees was bred for centuries to live alongside flocks of sheep on these freezing cold mountainsides.
So they had to be tough.
Tough and efficient. Evolutionary pressure favored dogs with a highly efficient basal metabolic rate, or BMR. They are literally designed to conserve energy for long periods and only explode into action when a predator approaches.
Oh, wow. So they're not just constantly burning fuel like a husky or something.
Not at all.
Yeah.
Their baseline caloric requirement to just exist is remarkably low compared to a high-strung herding dog or a sporting breed of a similar size.
So if an owner feeds a Pyrenees based purely on, what the back of the kibble bag recommends for a quote-unquote 120-pound dog without factoring in that incredibly efficient metabolism.
Or, overfeed him.
Yeah, the dog is going to gain weight rapidly. And this brings us to what might be the most deceptive aspect of this entire breed. The coat illusion.
The coat illusion is huge.
Yeah.
Because think about it. With a short-haired dog like a boxer or a greyhound, you can assess their weight visually from across the room.
Right, you can just see it.
You can see the muscle definition. You can see if the ribs are disappearing under a layer of fat. But the Great Pyrenees has this dense, weather-resistant double coat that basically acts like a heavy winter parka.
It adds all this massive visual bulk.
Exactly. Fluffy is not the same as fit.
Fluffy is not the same as fit, meaning you literally cannot eyeball weight gain in this breed.
You really can't.
A Pyrenees carrying 15 extra pounds of fat looks exactly like the same majestic dog it was last year.
And on the flip side, which is equally dangerous, an older dog could be losing vital muscle mass along its spine. And you would never notice because those stiff guard hairs just prop up their silhouette.
That's terrifying, honestly. The visual cues are just completely stripped away.
which means you have to rely on hands-on physical assessments.
Getting in there.
Yeah. Veterinarians use a body condition score, usually a scale from 1 to 9, with a 4 or a 5 being ideal.
Okay, so how do we check that at home?
To check this on a Pyrenees, you have to physically dig your fingers through that thick undercoat until you are actually touching the skin.
Past all the fluff.
Right. You should be able to feel the ribs easily with just light pressure. It should feel similar to feeling the bones on the back of your hand.
Oh, okay, let me feel the back of my hand. Yeah, okay, I can feel the ridges.
But if it feels like the palm of your hand, padded and soft.
Then the dog is overweight.
Exactly. The dog is carrying too much fat.
So you really have to get your hands on the dog. I guess you just make it part of your weekly brushing routine,
That's the best time to do it.
Now, if that beautiful coat is actively hiding the extra weight, we have to track down where those surplus calories are actually coming from in the first place.
Because it's rarely the main meals.
Right. When an owner says, I only feed him 3 cups of kibble a day, they usually aren't lying. The kibble isn't the problem.
No, it's not.
Here's where it gets really interesting. The human ecosystem around the dog is the problem.
We call this the family calorie creep.
The calorie creep.
It is almost never intentional overfeeding. People love their dogs.
Mm-hmm.
It is just this slow, steady accumulation of microcalories throughout the entire day.
Right. Think about table scraps like office donuts.
Oh, that's perfect.
Right. Because if you eat 1 donut hole on a Tuesday, your health doesn't change.
Obviously not.
But if you work in an office where like 5 different people are offering you donuts every single day, and you take a little piece every time suddenly across a week, that is a massive caloric load.
And translate that to the dog's reality. A sliver of cheese here from someone making lunch, a training treat there, the crust of a sandwich from a toddler running around.
It adds up fast.
It does. And we also have to remember caloric density, because a single ounce of cheddar cheese for a dog,
Which doesn't look like much to us.
it doesn't. But calorically, that's equivalent to a human eating a large order of French fries.
Oh, wow. A large fry. Just from 1 slice of cheese.
Yes. Because their resting metabolism is so incredibly efficient, those tiny additions create a massive surplus.
And there is a real physical risk to this breed simply because of their sheer height.
The counters?
Yes. A Pyrenees doesn't even have to jump to countersurf. They just sort of wander over and rest their chin on the kitchen island.
They're at eye level with the snacks.
Which makes a forgotten plate of cookies or like a bowl of grapes a genuine toxic hazard.
It really does. But beyond the toxicity and the weight gain, the way humans distribute these extra calories profoundly impacts the dog's psychology too.
Oh, this is fascinating. How so?
Well, food is arguably the most powerful behavioral tool in your environment. Every interaction you have with food teaches the dog a behavioral pattern.
Okay, so if you give them a scrap while they are sitting by the table, staring at you with those sad puppy eyes.
You haven't just given them a treat. You've actively paid them a salary for begging.
Wow, you're paying them to annoy you.
You've rewarded a behavior you don't actually want. And remember, the Great Pyrenees is an independent guardian breed. They thrive on predictability and steady routines.
So they need structure.
Desperately.
Huh?
If mealtime is chaotic, with people rushing around or kids poking the dog while it eats, you introduce anxiety.
Which they don't handle well.
No. That anxiety can very easily morph into resource guarding, where the dog starts feeling like it has to defend its food bowl aggressively.
But we can reverse engineer that, right? If we know food is the strongest currency in the house, we can use the quiet architecture of their diet to actually build their mindset.
Exactly. You
Yeah.
flip the script.
So instead of adding high-calorie treats on top of their meals, you just take a handful of their measured daily kibble and use that for training rewards throughout the day.
It's a great strategy.
You maintain a calm, structured feeding routine, which quietly reinforces the steady, reliable guardian behavior you actually want to live with.
Predictability prevents anxiety. A dog that knows exactly when and how it will be fed doesn't feel the need to guard its resources or, patrol the kitchen looking for scraps.
We've focused heavily on the suburban companion dog here, but as you mentioned earlier, a lot of these dogs are actively working.
Yes, very different lifestyle.
They are out with the sheep, they're facing the elements, they're living alongside multiple other dogs.
If we connect this to the bigger picture, for working dogs, the logistical challenges of feeding increase significantly.
I would imagine so.
They require more calories, obviously, to maintain their core body temperature in harsh winter weather.
Right.
But you also have to manage the environment. You need protected feeding stations so wildlife or other guardian dogs don't just come up and steal the food.
Oh, sure. You're out in nature.
Yeah, you often have to physically separate the dogs during feeding time to prevent competition and fighting. And you have to ensure their water sources don't freeze solid in the winter or breed pests in the summer.
So lifestyle really dictates the bowl. But regardless of whether your Pyrenees is a working guardian in the snow or a couch potato in the living room, their physical build comes with this terrifying inherent risk.
It does.
We have to talk about how their massive internal anatomy actually processes food, because it can literally be a matter of life and death.
It's the most serious thing an owner can face.
I'm talking about GDV, which is commonly known as bloat.
Gastric dilatation volvulus. It is one of the most critical emergencies in all of veterinary medicine, and it disproportionately affects large, deep-chested breeds like the Pyrenees.
Now, I want to be really clear here for you listening, because I hear the word bloat thrown around a lot in human terms. You know, humans get bloated after eating a big meal. It's uncomfortable, but it passes.
This is very different.
Right. What is physically happening inside the dog's body during GDV that makes it fatal?
Human bloating is just gas in the intestines. Canine GDV is an anatomical catastrophe.
Okay.
So the stomach of a deep-chested dog is suspended somewhat like a hammock between the esophagus and the intestines.
Got it. Hammock.
In the first phase, which is dilatation, the stomach rapidly fills with gas, food, or fluid, and it expands like a balloon.
Which obviously stretches the stomach walls, but, I mean, why can't they just burp or vomit to relieve the pressure?
Because of the second phase, volvulus.
Which is?
The heavily distended stomach actually flips or twists on its axis.
Wait, it just twists around?
Yes, and when it twists, it seals off both the entrance of the esophagus and the exit at the intestines. The gas has absolutely nowhere to go, so the stomach just continues to expand.
That is horrific.
It is. This massive internal balloon pushes against the diaphragm, making it incredibly hard for the dog to breathe. But more critically, the twisting completely pinches off the caudal vena cava.
What is that?
That's the major vein returning blood to the heart.
Oh, wow. So it's not a digestive issue anymore. It's a cardiovascular crisis. The blood supply is literally cut off.
Entirely. This leads to rapid tissue death of the stomach wall and the spleen. It causes systemic shock. And if it's uncorrected by emergency surgery, it results in death.
Knowing how mechanically catastrophic that is, prevention is paramount.
Yeah.
How do we manage their feeding to stop that pendulum stomach from swinging and twisting in the first place?
Prevention focuses heavily on avoiding anything that causes the dog to gulp massive amounts of air or put sudden heavy strain on the stomach ligaments.
Okay, so how do we do that?
You feed multiple smaller meals throughout the day instead of one enormous mountain of kibble. You use slow feeder bowls if your dog tends to inhale its food.
Right, the puzzles and things.
Exactly. But most importantly, you strictly manage activity timing. No vigorous exercise, running, or heavy play for at least an hour before and 2 hours after a meal.
Okay, but even with perfect preventative habits, a twist can still happen, right?
Unfortunately, yes, it can.
So if I'm looking at my Pyrenees right now, what are the exact undeniable red flags?
The hallmark symptom is unproductive retching.
Unproductive retching.
Yes. The dog is gagging and heavily trying to vomit, but nothing comes up because the esophagus is physically twisted shut.
Oh, I see.
You will also see a visibly distended, hard abdomen. The dog will be extremely restless, unable to lie down comfortably.
Because they're in pain.
Severe pain. You'll see heavy drooling, pale gums due to the lack of blood flow, rapid breathing, and eventually severe weakness and collapse.
I cannot emphasize this enough to you listening. If you see unproductive retching combined with a swollen belly, drop everything.
Everything.
Do not wait to see if it passes. Do not wait for your regular vet to open in the morning. This is an immediate drive to the nearest emergency surgical clinic. Minutes matter.
Time is tissue. The faster a surgeon can untwist the stomach, the higher the survival rate.
Taking deep breath. We've covered the structural growth, the metabolic rate, the family calorie creep, and the anatomy of a twisted stomach.
We've covered a lot of ground.
We really have. And knowing how incredibly vulnerable their digestive system is, we inevitably arrive at the most overwhelming part of modern dog ownership, which is, What exactly are we putting into that stomach?
The diet debates.
The diet debates. You walk into a pet store or you open a browser and it is just a wall of aggressive opinions.
The marketing noise is deafening right now.
It really is.
Yeah.
So what does this all mean? You have traditional kibble, you have wet food, and this massive explosion of toppers.
Oh, the bone broths, freeze-dried organ meats, quail eggs.
Yeah, and remember, as we discussed with the calorie creep, every single scoop of a topper adds to the daily caloric total.
People forget that. It all counts.
Yeah. But people are so passionate about this online. You have influencers claiming kibble is literal poison and pushing raw diets, homemade meal plans, boutique brands, grain-free everything.
It's a lot of fear-mongering.
It feels like if you aren't cooking a gourmet steak for your dog every night, you're a bad owner. What is the actual science here?
The science tells us that casual experimentation with trendy diets is incredibly dangerous, particularly for giant breeds.
Really? Even
Yeah.
if it looks healthy?
Yes. Let's look at the grain-free trend, for example. A few years ago, marketing convinced owners that wolves don't eat grains, therefore dogs shouldn't either.
Right, the whole ancestor thing.
Exactly. But dogs are not wolves. They have evolved alongside humans for thousands of years to digest carbohydrates.
That makes sense.
But more importantly, veterinary cardiologists began noticing a terrifying spike in dilated cardiomyopathy, which is a fatal heart disease in breeds that aren't even genetically prone to it.
And the link was the diet.
The FDA launched an ongoing investigation linking these boutique exotic ingredient and grain-free diets, specifically those heavily substituting peas, lentils, and potatoes for grains, to the development of this heart condition.
Wow.
Marketing language on a beautiful bag of food does not equal nutritional science.
So what about owners who want to feed like a raw or homemade diet? They just want to control exactly what goes into the bowl.
If an owner is deeply committed to a homemade or raw diet, it absolutely cannot be based on a recipe found on some blog.
Right.
The margin for error in a giant breed's micronutrient balance is just too small. It requires consultation with a board-certified veterinary nutritionist.
Which is different from a regular vet.
Yes, a vet with specialized advanced training in nutrition. That's the only way to formulate a diet that is truly complete and balanced.
And if your Pyrenees has a dull coat or, say, chronic loose stools, the instinct is to go play musical chairs at the pet store.
Oh, people do this constantly.
Buy 5 different brands of expensive boutique food and just keep switching until something magically fixes the stomach.
Which often just exacerbates the problem.
Really?
Yeah, constantly rotating proteins and formulas throws the gut microbiome into complete chaos.
Oh, that makes sense. You're just confusing their stomach more?
Exactly. Furthermore, chronic itching or digestive issues might not be the food at all. A dull coat could be a thyroid issue. Itching could be environmental allergies to pollen or even a flea allergy.
So you're treating the wrong thing.
Right. Find the root medical cause with your veterinarian. Don't just endlessly change the brand in the bowl.
This raises an important question, though, about the passage of time, because the architecture ages.
It does.
Eventually, our giant puppies become giant seniors, and their nutritional needs shift all over again.
The senior shift in giant breeds is profound, and the tricky part is it doesn't happen uniformly.
How so?
Well, for many Pyrenees, the metabolism drops even further. They sleep more deeply, their joints ache, so they naturally move a lot less.
Right.
If you continue feeding them their adult maintenance portions, they will rapidly pack on weight.
And putting extra fat onto a skeleton that is already struggling with senior arthritis, I mean, that's just a recipe for severe mobility loss.
Exactly.
But I've also seen the exact opposite happen. Some seniors start looking almost hollowed out.
Yes, unexplained weight and muscle loss is equally common, and this is often where the code illusion becomes the most dangerous.
Because it's hiding the muscle wasting along the spine.
Exactly. Now, this weight loss can be driven by a decreasing appetite, but frequently it's a secondary symptom.
Like what?
Severe dental disease makes chewing dry kibble agonizing, so the dog simply stops eating.
Oh, poor thing.
Or there are underlying undiagnosed organ issues like kidney disease.
So neither scenario, the rapid weight gain or the hollowed out weight loss, should ever be dismissed with the sigh and an, oh, well, he's just getting old.
Never. Aging is not a disease, but it does require intervention. Adjusting the food to a senior formula with different nutrient profiles or softer textures can help, but food is just one piece of the puzzle.
Doesn't fix everything.
No, it doesn't replace comprehensive medical care, regular blood work, or pharmaceutical pain management for arthritis.
So to pull all of these threads together for you listening and view the entire biological life cycle, Feeding a Great Pyrenees is emphatically not about buying the biggest bag of food and dumping giant portions into a bowl.
Not at all.
It starts with highly controlled, mathematically precise growth in the puppy phase, so the skeletal concrete cures without cracking.
Right.
It requires you to physically bypass the code illusion to monitor their true body condition. It means managing your family's habits to stop the silent calorie creep, utilizing strict bloat-aware feeding schedules to prevent a catastrophic stomach twist, and above all,
relying on peer-reviewed veterinary science over flashy internet marketing trends.
Exactly.
Because when you respect that process, you achieve the ultimate goal. You build and maintain a sound, capable body. You ensure that the dog's natural genetic strength isn't crushed under unnecessary weight or compromised by completely preventable disease.
You perfect that quiet architecture. But I want to leave you with one final thought to ponder today. Now that you understand exactly how this biological machine is built, how the fuel is calibrated, and how the physical structure is maintained over time, what happens when this famously independent guardian actually decides to burn that energy?
That's a whole other story.
It is. How does a dog, this massive, carrying centuries of guarding instincts in its DNA, navigate its territory, set its boundaries, and physically move through the world to protect its flock or its family? That is a whole new layer of the Pyrenees puzzle, and it's waiting for you to explore.